Apart from those who disappeared, relatives were very often tortured, especially fathers, mothers, sisters, wives, children. And from their accounts, I cannot overstate the brutality of the torture.
In early 1993, after an approach to India's Home Affairs Minister, a message was passed on to the family from the police that Kulwinder had been killed. To this day, no reason for his death has been given by the police and no mortal remains provided. 10 years on, Kulwinder's wife has only memories of her husband.
बहुत अच्छे से, very nice, बहुत ही अच्छे. उन्होंने याद जड़ी है ना हुन मिस होंगी.
माँ बाप और बहन भाइयों का भी काम सारा उसके सिर पर ही चलता था. भाइयों के घर का भी खर्चा उनके सिर पर ही चलता था. उसके बाप और माँ की संभाल करने वाला, देखने वाला वही था. सारा काम, घर का काम उसके सिर पर ही था. जब का वो चला गया तो सारा घर की बर्बादी हो गई.
For 4 more years, the family pursued a fruitless round of the courts, politicians and police. In 1996, here at the High Court of Punjab and Haryana, Father Ajaib lodged a writ of habeas corpus, a demand the state produce his son's body. The writ worried the police. A massive bribe of 1 million rupees, 40,000 Australian dollars, was offered to the family to drop the case. The offer came via an intermediary, Jagbir's manager at the Golden Temple.
पैसा वो जी मैनू इस गल दा नहीं पता भी किसके कहने पर कर रहा, कौन कर रहा था. मैनू उन्हें पूरा मेरे ते प्रेशर पाया भी तेरी मैं बदली करूँगा जींद. लेकिन जो मैं फादर साहब ने दस ही दिता तो फादर साहब ने मैनू तो एक बने कहा भी नौकरी छड़ दे तू. तो दूजे बने मुड़ के फादर साहब ने जाके उसनूं गालां कढ़ियां.
When the bribe was rejected, Jagbir and his father were brought here, once the site of a police interrogation and torture centre. The police threatened to kill them if they didn't drop the High Court action. The police didn't have to act on that threat because soon after the High Court threw out the writ. Incredibly, the court found insufficient evidence that Kulwinder Singh had been abducted.
When they say insufficient evidence, what do they mean? Eyewitnesses to abduction, eyewitnesses to his illegal custody are coming before you, making statements in writing and saying that this man was picked up by the police on such and such a date from such and such a place. He was at this police station, he was seen being tortured, and you say insufficient evidence? You don't even get the state to sort of give a response, deny or accept, and then go on to make an independent inquiry. What kind of judiciary is this?
For 8 more months, Ajaib Singh pursued the authorities over his son's death until yet another so-called inquiry produced no result. The family knew their father was despondent, but had no inkling another tragedy was about to occur.
उस दिन ਦਾ ਸਾਡੇ ਘਰਦਿਆਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਡਾਊਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਕਿਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਫ੍ਰੀ ਹੁੰਦੇ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਦਰਬਾਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਚਲੇ ਜਾਂਦੇ ਸੀ ਜਾ ਕੇ ਮੱਥਾ ਟੇਕ ਕੇ वहाँ बर्तन साफ करते ही कई बार जोड़े साफ जो जोड़ा जमा कराइए ना शूज पॉलिश करने पे थे सेवा करते थे.
Six long years after his son was killed, Ajaib Singh returned to the Golden Temple to end his life. He wrote out a suicide note, and while walking the temple's cool marble corridors, he consumed poison.
Everyone failed him. The Congress Party, the central government, the Chief Minister of Punjab, the High Court, the Supreme Court, the Commission. He decided to commit suicide. I mean, he decided to commit suicide, and in his note, he said he's not dying, he's not committing suicide because he's committed anything wrong, but he finds it impossible to live in a world where there is no justice. And it was sort of a desperate cry of a person who wanted his case to be heard.
If the authorities had ever wanted to know where people who were being abducted ended up, they may well have looked here. This is the Durgiana Mandir cremation ground in Amritsar. Cremation is a Hindu ritual also used by Sikhs, where the body is returned to the cosmos. In January 2005, human rights activist Jaswant Singh Kalra made an astonishing claim. Police in Amritsar had illegally cremated more than 2,000 unidentified bodies in just 2 years. His information would cost him his life. Kalra was well known and highly respected in the Sikh community. His allegations attracted wide publicity in India, and he travelled abroad to publicise human rights violations against Sikhs. Kalra also approached the state's High Court for an investigation into his claims, but the court threw out his writ on a legal technicality.
When the High Court is dismissing this on the ground that you have no locus standi before the court, it's actually shutting its eyes to the evidence that he brought before, which is of the killing, possible killing and cremation of thousands of people done in one district. Frankly, the revelations made by Kalra and the documents that he had gathered were so astonishing that I had to go with him to find out, and then get the corroboration from people. So I went with him to the cremation grounds to speak to the people. I look at the registers and the records which he produced of the police bringing the dead bodies for cremations illegally.
The records show that Durgiana Mandir ground was one of 3 cremation sites in Amritsar illegally used by the police. It takes about 300 kilograms of wood to burn a single body, and each wood purchase is written in a register. The police subverted the system by burning more than one body on each pyre.
Now, we discovered, just once in Kalra to be precise, discovered by examining these registers that hundreds and hundreds of unclaimed bodies had been burnt in this fashion, and wood had been purchased in this fashion.
If the National Human Rights Commission wanted any help, it need look no further than here. In this tiny office in Punjab's capital Chandigarh, Kumar's committee, the CCDP, patiently compiles statistics. It's here that the magnitude of the crime hits home. Each file contains the details of a person who's disappeared at the hands of the police.
I would say that this is actually the tip of the iceberg. My own assessment is that about 20% of the people are actually talking to us. A vast majority of the people, even when they tell us privately, yes, this is what has happened to us, they are so afraid, so demoralized that they don't speak up.
This database contains nearly 1,500 cases of people who've disappeared. That's in addition to the 2,096 cases the National Human Rights Commission is meant to be investigating. The CCDP's investigation shows an irrefutable pattern of police atrocities across all of Punjab. But the Human Rights Commission has seen fit to examine only illegal cremations and only in one district, Amritsar.
We submitted that information to the National Human Rights Commission. We submitted that information to the Supreme Court, also showing records of cremations in other districts, records of disappearances in other districts, following abductions, and we said, look, these are the patterns. Please, how can you restrict it to one district? How can you restrict it to the factum of cremation? But they have not so far considered any of our plea.